Is there life after death? And does the human soul reincarnate on Earth or maybe elsewhere again and again? The following are 4 cases where the children claim to have lived a previous life, and in one of the cases has credible evidence. Luna Mcone. Luna was born in Copenhagen, Denmark, whose parents were both Italian. At the age of 3, she told her parents that her real name was Maria Espina, and she was from the Philippines, and asked to go home as she wanted to visit her father. She claimed her father owned a restaurant on Highway 54 close to the Church of Christ. Luna was fond of Mcone, which her parents had never heard of. After doing some research, they found that Mcone was actually buko pandan and was a Filipino dessert made with coconut. Luna also described the various festivals and ceremonies in great detail. On occasions, she would also dance and would hum a certain tune that her parents were totally unfamiliar with. Luna said that she'd met Filipino President Diosdado Macapagal, who she described as being tall, and had given him some red flowers, and she'd worn new shoes for this special occasion. On further research, they found that Diosdado Pangon Macapagal was a Filipino lawyer, poet, and politician who served as the 9th president of the Philippines from 1961 to 1965. How could a child of 3, born in Denmark to Italian parents, have known about Mcone, Filipino culture, and a Filipino president from the early 1960s? Her story came to the attention of the media, and some reporters went to the Philippines to check on the young girl's story. The reporters were able to locate Highway 54 and also the Church of Christ that was close by. They also found that a restaurant had once stood in that location, and the owner was a man called Yves Espina, who worked there with his wife, and the couple did have a daughter called Maria, who had died of fever at the age of 12. With even more amazing proof, they found that a young girl by the name of Maria Espina had been chosen to present flowers to President Macapagal when he visited their town, and that President Macapagal had indeed been a tall man. With even further proof of what Luna had claimed, the parents of the young Filipino girl had purchased a pair of shoes for their daughter to wear to honour the special occasion. In 1974, a woman by the name of Sybil Leek wrote a book called Reincarnation, The Second Chance. The fact that the president ruled from 1961 to 1965 and the book was written in 1974 means that there were not many years between Maria Espina dying and a short time later being reborn as Luna Mcone. Angela Mahoney. Angela was born in Cork in Southern Ireland. When she was 22 months old, her parents moved to Poole in Dorset in southern England. Up to that time, the parents had never been outside Ireland, and young Angela had never been outside of Cork. However, the first time her mother took her out to the coastal town of Poole, they passed a building called Barclay House, which was a large bank building. As they were passing the building, Angela became extremely animated, screaming, "Look, Mummy, that's my hospital. That's where I was a nurse." Her mother then tried to explain to her daughter that it was a bank, not a hospital, but Angela said that it had once been a hospital when she was there before. She then told her mother that she was once a nurse and would always come down this road wearing a long dress along with her nurse's hat. From that moment on, every time they walked past Barclay House, young Angela would repeat the same things. As she got older, she was able to tell her parents more about the life she remembered. Further research found that Angela's claims turned out to be factual, and it was discovered that Barclay House had been built as a workhouse in 1838 and had employed nurses, and was later converted to an infirmary in 1900. An infirmary was a place, as in a school or prison, where sick or injured individuals received care and treatment. They were unable to locate any specific person that Angela described, so the exact length of the intermission is unknown. However, judging by a description of the time, she could have lived in a previous life as a nurse approximately 100 years ago. Gail Woodward. Gail Woodward, from Liverpool in northwest England, has a past life memory where she was a lady of the manor sometime during the 18th century. One day after she'd had lunch, 2-year-old Gail casually said, "I will have my coffee in the lounge, please, Mummy." Her mother, both surprised and amused, asked her daughter whether she was imagining herself as a lady. Her daughter replied, "Yes, of course." Gail then went on to describe the large house in which she'd lived. The big house with lots of steps coming down from the door. The one with the big rooms and tall roofs. "Don't you remember?" Mother said that she did not remember anything of the sort. Gal said that her family had a lot of helpers, one of whom kept their coach in immaculate condition. The coachman sat on a high seat on top at the front, from which he drove the horses. Sometimes only one horse would pull the carriage, on other occasions 2 horses would pull the carriage. She had a favourite horse that was a black stallion. It was called Gypsy, but he did not pull any carriages. On a few occasions the carriage was sent to collect people who came to the house to attend many of the parties that her family hosted. Gal then described in detail how she dressed, where she would wear long, pretty dresses. One time Gal got extremely upset when the mother wanted to cut her hair, and she insisted that she wanted her hair long, because that was how she'd worn it before. She was also fascinated with old-fashioned jewellery, especially old brooches. She liked it when they visited jumble sales or rummage sales, because she would often find old brooches. As can happen with many children who remember past lives, by the age of 7, her memories started to fade. But she continued to carry herself in a reserved and modest manner, as she did in her previous life. She had a sense of dignity that would have been unusual in a small child of her age. Jasper Stiger. Late one night, when Jasper's mother was taking him to the toilet, she asked him to be very quiet so as not to wake up any other members of the family. It was at this point where his mother was taken aback when he said he used to live in the place where he had to pee very quietly against a piece of paper so as to muffle the sound. That moment seemed to be a trigger point in young Jasper's life. Occasionally he would talk about other things that he'd recalled, where he said that he'd been a Jewish boy. After a period of time, his mother noted that at the age of 3, Jasper had made 15 statements about a former life in Germany under the Hitler regime, and that after his father was arrested by the Nazis, he and the rest of the family were forced to go into hiding. At one time he claimed to have faced the firing squad but managed to escape by jumping through a window. Fortunately, he survived the Holocaust and lived to be an old man. Jasper would often talk about his memories of the period between his death in that life and his present life. He told his mother that she was also his mother in his previous life and had specifically chosen to return to her. He also said that a soul had a choice of whether they wished to reincarnate or not. Jasper claimed that people have a task to fulfill in their earthly life, where several people might be entrusted with the same task, which might concern an entire society, not only one's own personal goals.